Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Indiana Farmers Market Community of Practices August webinar. I am Christina Ferroli, the Grants Program Coordinator for the Indiana Cooperative Development Center, and with us today we have Whitney Butler with MarketLink. Whitney's roots are in Colorado, where she grew up playing with her siblings outdoors, raiding grandma's garden, riding horses, climbing trees, and running from their chickens and turkeys. She fell in love with farming and farmers in college while working at the University of Wyoming student farm, Acres. After school, she volunteered on small farms for the WWOOF program in Hawaii, New Zealand, and Costa Rica. When she returned to Colorado, she had the honor of working for the Denver Botanic Gardens in their production greenhouses. Since 2016, she has managed a horticultural business focused on native landscaping and backyard vegetable production. Whitney's thrilled to be part of the MarketLink team, where every day she gets to help farmers succeed. Her favorite part-time job is connecting with farmers across the country and hopefully being able to take one thing off their to-do list. When she's not working, she can be found in her own garden, cooking, reading, or going on a camping adventure with her husband, dog, and cat in tow. I want to remind everyone to please remain muted during the presentation. However, we want this to be participatory, so if you have questions, raise your hand and we will call on you, or drop your questions in the chat and we will have time for a Q&A at the end. Thank you for joining us and welcome, Whitney.
All right. Thank you so much, Christina. I'm so happy to be here, and today I'll be sharing information on the services that the grant program MarketLink offers. So in a nutshell, we help farmers and farmers markets with becoming SNAP authorized retailers, and we can connect them to USDA grant funded SNAP card reader equipment. So I'll give you all the details today. So first of all, what is MarketLink? MarketLink is a program that was created by the 501c3 nonprofit, the National Association of Farmers Market Nutrition Programs. This program was first created in response to a USDA grant opportunity that started in 2013. And MarketLink provides wireless SNAP or EBT point of sale equipment to direct marketing farmers and farmers markets. And MarketLink is a national program, so it's available to farmers and markets in all US states and territories. So MarketLink is made possible by a few key partnerships. So as I mentioned, the program was created by the NAFMMP, which is a nonprofit whose mission is to help the farmers market nutrition programs succeed on the ground. So those farmers market nutrition programs also include the seniors programs and WIC, Women, Infants, and Children. And then we have a cooperative agreement with the USDA, or more specifically, it's the Food and Nutrition Services Agency that is responsible for administering the SNAP program. So the FNS, as we call them, provides the funding for our program, and they also allow us to submit the SNAP retailer applications on behalf of folks we work with. And finally, Novadia Group is the equipment company that provides the SNAP point of sale equipment, which is an app called Total Pay Go. Okay, so since this SNAP equipment grant was first introduced in 2013, there have been multiple iterations. And each time the grant lasts about 4 years, and FNS comes up with different rules or expectations for each grant cycle, as they call it. So MarketLink has won this grant multiple times. So some of you might be familiar with a previous version of MarketLink, but it has evolved over time to meet the new requirements. So this is what's new for the current grant. First, to be eligible for the SNAP card reader equipment, you must be either a farmer's market or a direct marketing farmer. And you'll see in this presentation, we kind of shorten that to FM and DMF. That's what I'm referring to. Also, you must not have received equipment from this current grant cycle, which began in October 2019. So this means you can only use the grant funding once. Also new is that Novadia Group our equipment providers, are now a SNAP third-party processor, and I'll explain why that's important in a moment. But as a result of that, for those of you familiar with the previous version of MarketLink, our original app was called Mobile Market Plus, and that's being phased out for the new app, Total Pay Go. We're also now partnered with Square as an option to add credit and debit processing. And finally, there's a printer waiver, and I'll jump in the next slide to explain that. So it's federally mandated that a printed receipt must be provided for SNAP transactions. However, the USDA has provided a printed receipt waiver for those who receive equipment through the MarketLink grant. So if you get equipment through us, then instead of a printed receipt, customers are given the option of a text or emailed receipt. And it's important to note because many SNAP customers depend on those receipts to track their SNAP account balance. So you can still check a customer's SNAP balance on the app without processing a sale, and they can have an email or text balance sent to them. So currently this waiver only lasts until the end of this grant cycle, which is October 2013. But the USDA is considering just extending this waiver for farmers and farmers markets perpetually, but we're still waiting to hear back from them on this, that they've made it final. Now, but if for whatever reason you want or need a printer, those are available for purchase. Okay, and then I also mentioned that our equipment providers, Novadia Group, are now a third-party processor. And so why is that important? What does it mean? So in a nutshell, a SNAP third-party processor is a company that is authorized by the USDA to provide the SNAP point of sale equipment and to process SNAP transactions. So for example, we have lots of folks that'll ask us if they can accept SNAP through Square, but Square has not gone through the USDA's process to become a SNAP third-party processor. So the answer is no, at this time you can't accept SNAP through Square. So if you're familiar with our former app, Mobile Market Plus, we were partnered with WorldPay because they were our third-party processor. But since then, Novadia Group became a third-party processor, and that's great because it allows us to pass on savings and have more flexibility for customers. So this includes the ability to let folks choose a month-to-month or yearly subscription, depending on how your season works. There's no long-term contract, no early termination fees, no per transaction fees for SNAP sales, and then no setup fees or ACH banking fees. So before we get into the nitty-gritty details of the grant and the equipment, just would like to share some of the wonderful benefits of accepting SNAP, illustrated in this beautiful positive feedback cycle. So starting with the obvious here in purple, when a farm or market accepts SNAP, they're able to increase their sales by expanding their customer base. There's red. And then, of course, beyond profitability, they're providing food access to our community's most vulnerable population. There's orange. Now, when SNAP customers are able to spend their benefits locally, they're supporting the local economy. Also, farms and markets are demonstrating that everyone is welcome to shop with them and that they're invested in the community's well-being. There's yellow. Now, customers who shop at farmers markets and buy more fruits and vegetables are more likely to lead healthier lives. There's dark green. And this all provides unique marketing opportunities to help promote the farm or market. So there's spring green. And here's a few more reasons you might consider accepting SNAP. So I believe these are 2020 numbers. They're always a little delayed with the SNAP program, but in 2020, SNAP was a $100 billion program. And of that, currently less than 0.12% is being spent at with farmers and farmers markets. And sadly, as a result of the pandemic, there was a 20% increase in SNAP participants. And that was from 2019 to 2020. So also another important thing to know is that SNAP is an excellent companion program to the WIC, Women, Infants, and Children, and Seniors programs. Not only does it reach different customers, but it also allows a greater variety of food to be purchased, which I'll go over in the next slide. But what this chart is showing you here is the red line is the funding going into seniors and WIC programs. And the purple line is funding going into the SNAP program. So you can see there's a lot more in funding in the SNAP program. Okay, so some basic facts on SNAP, or the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. Who's eligible to receive these SNAP benefits? People will qualify based on income and household factors. And in 2020, there were 44 million Americans receiving SNAP benefits, many of whom are low-income working families and the elderly. Now, what foods can be purchased with SNAP? So as I mentioned, WIC and Seniors Farmers Market Nutrition Program shoppers are usually limited to fruits, vegetables, cut herbs, and honey. Whereas with SNAP, shoppers can also buy meat, fish, dairy, eggs, baked goods, processed foods, honey, cider, juices, herbs, and even plants and seeds that will produce food. So what's not allowed is a pretty short list. It's non-food items, wine and alcohol, and then hot foods and foods meant to be eaten on site. And the reason for those last two is because, as the name suggests, the SNAP program is meant to supplement a pantry, not necessarily be an instant meal. Okay, so some of you might be familiar with this, but there's basically two systems that farmers markets will use to accept SNAP. There's the market level system and the vendor level system. So in the vendor level system, each participating vendor or farmer must become a SNAP retailer on their own. And then they will each be responsible for getting their own SNAP point of sale equipment. And that equipment will be connected to their own bank account. So it's important in this situation to consider a budget for the market to create signage and marketing materials to let SNAP shoppers know which vendors accept SNAP. So this cost might be on the shoulders of the vendors, and it might be supplemented by the market. We often see this situation in volunteer-run farmers markets. Now in the market level system, the farmers market itself actually goes through the process to become a SNAP authorized retailer. And in this situation, there will be one centralized set of SNAP point of sale equipment that's used for the entire market, usually set up at a central informational booth. So this equipment would be connected to a central bank account that's used for the entire market. And so all the SNAP deposits would go into this account, and then the vendors are reimbursed. So in this situation, you'll have SNAP sales managed using either a token or a receipt system, and I'll explain those more in the next slide. But in this model, you're going to need vendors that are willing to participate, which includes, having training on what's SNAP eligible and how to manage this token or receipt system. And then it's also going to need staff to operate that SNAP equipment, manage the token and receipt system, and then issue reimbursement to the vendors. So it's important to have a budget to cover the costs of that equipment, tokens, vendor training, and then marketing and outreach for the SNAP program. Okay, this is getting pretty far in the weeds, but it's helpful to understand. So as I mentioned, in this market level system where you have the centralized equipment, there's two main ways that SNAP is managed, the token system or the receipt system. So in both scenarios, that SNAP card reader is kept at a centralized booth, and managing it is usually operated by market staff or volunteers that are trained. Now in the token system, a SNAP customer would come to the booth, have market staff charge whatever amount they want to their card, and then market staff will give them tokens in exchange. The customer then goes throughout the market and can purchase items with those tokens that are SNAP eligible. And at the end of the market, each vendor will turn in tokens that are spent with them to that centralized booth. And then market staff record how much is owed to each vendor. Now, some markets will keep cash on hand to pay out that vendor immediately. Other markets will reimburse later by transferring money electronically from the bank account to vendors' bank accounts. And also, if customers have unused tokens, they can go back to that centralized booth and ask for a return on their SNAP card. Then the other system is the receipt system. So in this model, customers will bring their SNAP eligible items to a vendor's checkout. The vendor tallies the total and provides the customer with a receipt. Then the vendor will hold those items while the customer goes to that centralized booth, presents the receipt and has their SNAP card charged. And then the receipt is signed or stamped as a proof of purchase, and the customer can go back, give this receipt to the vendor and pick up their items. And then at the end of the market, vendors will bring those receipts to the central booth and they're reimbursed in cash or, like I said before, electronically through bank accounts. Okay, so if a farmer or market is interested in participating in the MarketLink grant program, these are the basic steps, and I'll go into each in detail. But step one, anyone interested should complete the eligibility assessment on our website. Super short, about 10 minutes. Step two, if you haven't done so already, you'll need to become a SNAP authorized retailer. So there's an application to do with the USDA. Step three, after you've been approved for MarketLink and you're a USDA authorized SNAP retailer, then you would set up your SNAP merchant account with TotalPayGo. And then step four is receiving your SNAP card reader, and you activate the TotalPayGo account on your smart device. And then you're ready to accept SNAP. So that first step is filling out the eligibility assessment on our website. And this is determining whether you are eligible for the SNAP card reader equipment. And as I mentioned, who's eligible? You have to meet the USDA's definitions of a direct marketing farmer, which is an individual producer of agricultural products that sell directly to the public, or a farmer's market, which the USDA defines as a multi-stall market where farmer producers sell food products that they produced directly to the general public at a fixed location. But there's a lot of gray area. There's a lot of innovative businesses, especially after COVID. So we just encourage folks, if you don't fall neatly into those categories, to, contact us. We're happy to help you, sort it out. So who's not eligible? If you don't meet those, you're not a direct marketing farmer, farmer's market. If you've already received equipment from us since October 2019, or if you have functioning equipment that you received through a state-sponsored program. So you can't double dip between the state program and MarketLink. Okay, so even if you're not eligible for the SNAP equipment, we can still help you in a lot of ways. So line by line here, regardless of if you're eligible, we can help you with that SNAP application. If you are eligible, then you can receive a SNAP card reader and a 1-year subscription to the TotalPayGo app. If you're not eligible, you're going to need to purchase equipment. And then, as we discussed, there's the printer waiver if you receive equipment through us, but if you don't, you will need to get a printer. We'll also, if you get equipment through us, we'll help you set it up and train you to use it. If you're not eligible, we can still kind of help you with your other equipment options. And then finally, we're here to just help you with any questions you might have about SNAP. So on that note, one of the most valuable free services that we offer is technical assistance. We have a nationwide team that's available to help through the whole process. So a great starting point is to book a phone call with one of us. which can be done on our website. So we're happy to talk all things SNAP. We certainly don't have all the answers, but we can help guide you through the process and connect you with helpful resources. Okay, so the second step, any business or farmer's market that wants to accept SNAP must first submit this SNAP retailer application with the USDA. And a free service that our grant program offers is assistance with this application. So if you prefer to do it on your own, we've created a step-by-step guides that we can share with you, and then we can be available for questions along the way. But we can also submit the application on your behalf, which we highly recommend because it allows us to, just make sure you're eligible, that you're applying correctly, and then we can track your application and speak to the USDA on your behalf if anything comes up. So it helps us make sure you can get approved as quickly as possible. So this is just kind of an outline of the whole process. First of all, this is an online application. So if you have us apply on your behalf, we'll just email you a list of business and personal information to gather, and then you schedule a phone appointment when you're ready. And then during that call, we'll fill out the application for you. If you do it on your own, your very first step will be to create an account on the USDA e-authentication website, and then you can fill out the application. So for that application, you're going to need to identify who's going to be the responsible official for your SNAP program. Now, for direct marketing farmers, this must be the owners of the business. For farmers markets, it's going to depend on if there's any organization that's acting as a fiscal sponsor, such as a nonprofit, an LLC, or a government entity. It'll be different if it's volunteer run. So we can help you determine who is appropriate to be the responsible official. Now this person, as the title suggests, will be responsible for ensuring that the SNAP program follows those federally mandated rules. And this is the only person that the USDA will speak to regarding the SNAP permit. So it's very helpful if it's someone that's more permanent within that organization. Okay, so number 3 here, after you fill out the online application, you'll need to upload some required documents to the USDA website. What is required is going to depend on how the market or business is organized. But in general, each responsible official will need to submit a copy of their photo ID and a copy of their Social Security card. So the only exemption to that Social Security card requirement is for 501c3 nonprofit farmers markets or government-owned farmers markets. There's also a signature page for each responsible official to sign. If your state requires any business licenses for you to operate, you should upload those. And 501c3s will need to upload their IRS determination letter. So once all those documents are uploaded, the USDA will actually start reviewing your application. They sometimes ask for additional information. It's usually super simple requests, but they put a deadline to respond. So it's very important that you keep a close eye on your email and mailbox, because if you miss that deadline, they'll withdraw your application and you'll have to start over. So number 5, it's also very important to check the status of your application regularly. You can check it online on that USDA website, but it's also really helpful to call them periodically to check in. And if you have us submit the application, we'll do this for you. And then number 6, once you're approved, you'll be issued a SNAP permit. So on that SNAP permit will be your F&S number, which is basically your golden ticket for acquiring a SNAP point of sale equipment. So a few important things to remember for, both participating in our grant program and that application is that you should have an active email account that you check regularly. This is the primary way the USDA and MarketLink will communicate with you. You must have a bank account for those electronic transactions because the SNAP deposits will go directly into your bank account. Also for the USDA application, it helps tremendously if you have all your business and personal information together before starting the process. And finally, most importantly, is to start early. So this whole process, that USDA application can take anywhere from 1 to 3 months. So don't wait till spring to do this. The USDA gets swamped with applications in the spring, and it takes much longer to get approved. So if you can manage it, and fall and winter are great times to do that application. Okay. So once you've been approved to accept SNAP, you're going to need some kind of point of sale device to accept those SNAP payments. There's companies that you can purchase equipment from. Some banks have SNAP card readers, or if you're eligible, there's the option of the equipment through the MarketLink grant. So we call this a bring your own device program, meaning that customers will need to provide their own smartphone or tablet to run the Total Pay Go app on. And this can be someone's personal or business device. It just must have Bluetooth, because that's how you're going to connect your phone or tablet to the SNAP card reader. And to run the Total Pay Go app, you'll need either a data plan or connection to Wi-Fi. If you do have a data plan, any phone carrier will work. So this picture's, a good example. This little guy in the corner, that's the card reader. So it's pretty small. It's about, the size of a matchbox. That's your equipment. And then of course the smartphone's not included, but that's what the app will look like. All right, so here's what's covered by the grant for 1 year and what costs to expect after that first year is up. So the grant covers the cost of the SNAP card reader entirely. That's yours to keep. The grant also covers 1 year of the Total Pay Go app subscription. Then you also have that printer waiver, so no cost for printing receipts. And then if you decide to add credit and debit processing, there are fees through Square. So I'll cover those in the next slide. So what happens after the first year? If you decide you want to keep using Total Pay Go, the cost is in the subscription to the app. If you choose the yearly subscription, there's a slight discount, so it's $191.40 for a year. Or if you have a seasonal operation, you can do a monthly subscription that you can turn on and off as appropriate, and that's $19.95 a month. But you'll continue to have those other free perks as a MarketLink customer: no per transaction fees for SNAP, the card reader, and the printer waiver. Okay, so the top section is a little redundant. That was mostly in the last slide. But what I want to focus on here is that bottom section, which is the cost of adding credit and debit processing. So we are partnered with both Square and WorldPay to offer this. And Square, it's their standard charge of 10 cents plus 2.6% of the sale is their per transaction fee. But with Square, there's no contract required. WorldPay, they charge 15 cents plus 1.79% of the sale, but they do require a multi-year contract. So we generally recommend Square unless you're already locked into the WorldPay contract. But one very important difference here is that if you go with Square, you will need to get a Square card reader for credit debit cards, and it will connect to the Total Pay Go app at the same time as the Total Pay SNAP card reader. So you'll use one app, Total Pay Go, but you have two card readers depending on the type of card you're processing: the Square one for credit and debit, the Total Pay card reader for SNAP. But if you choose WorldPay, then it's the same card reader for all card types. So that would be one app, Total Pay Go, one card reader for all types of cards. Okay, so this is showing you what the Total Pay Go app will look like on your smart device. On the far left, you've got the sign-in screen. Next is the home screen, where you'd select the type of sale that you want to conduct. And what tender types show up on your app will depend on what you're set up with. So if you add credit and debit, you'll have a credit button. Otherwise, that wouldn't be there. And then those other two screens are just showing you how you can have both the SNAP card reader, which is called a chip or Bluetooth, and a Square card reader connected at the same time. Magic of technology. Okay, so then in addition to the TotalPayGo app, there's an online portal or website where you would sign into your TotalPayGo account, manage your settings, and you can also view and download all your sales data into whatever kind of accounting software or Excel, whatever you use. You can also use the data and put it in some handy displays and look at your sales on an hourly, weekly, monthly basis, and your sales by payment method. So if you'd like to learn more about TotalPayGo, there's their website and social media handles. If you don't qualify for their grant, then their products are also available for purchase. And then we at MarketLink, we also have a lot of other exciting development in the works. We're working on adding all tender types to the app, including EWIC or EFMNP, as well as loyalty and incentive programs, so you can reward shoppers for coming back to you. If you're not, familiar with what EWIC and EFMNP means, the USDA has mandated that states modernize the WIC and seniors programs from a check, paper check system to an electronic system. So each state is managing this on their own. So how long this is taking depends a lot on the state. So it's still in the process right now. Also very exciting is that last year we were awarded the USDA grant to start developing the ability for farmers and farmers markets to accept SNAP online. So you might be aware that it's not been possible for the small retailers to accept SNAP online because of the USDA's strict and therefore expensive security standards. So the USDA recognized this problem and created a grant opportunity to develop a solution for this, which we won. So we're currently in the process. We're working with a few different e-commerce providers, and we're getting close to having our first pilot farmers go through the process. So hopefully we're going to have this ability for farmers and markets to accept SNAP online soon. So if you're interested, please get in touch with us. We have, you can sign up for email, updates as this program develops. Okay, and of course, you can find us on social media, keep up with what's going on. And here's where to find us. So a great starting point, as I mentioned, is to book a phone call. No pressure. We're just happy to chat SNAP. Or you can send an email to our general email or directly to one of our team members. And also check out our website. It's marketlink.org. There's lots of helpful resources on there as well. So thank you everyone for your time. I hope that help answer some questions about SNAP, and I'm happy to answer more questions if you have any.
Yeah, thank you, Whitney. We do have quite a few in the chat. So do you want me to just scroll down and read them?
Sure.
So the first one has to do with their card reader broke in 2021. So they're not able to do electronic transactions. What should they do to replace this equipment? And this was with MarketLink, I would think.
Presume, yeah, you had a card reader. You should get in touch with us. You can either call us or send us an email, and then we'll elevate this to TotalPayGo, and they have a 1-year warranty policy, so we should be able to replace that equipment for you. Awesome. And I do hope, yes, you probably understand, and this is important to know, if your card reader doesn't work, you are still able to accept SNAP by manually keying in the card numbers as a backup solution too.
Thank you. The next question is, we are a 501c3, but through a Chamber of Commerce. Would they be eligible for a free year grant program?
Yeah, and does this sound to you like a farmer's market that's managed by a Chamber of Commerce?
Yes.
Do I understand that right? Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we see a lot of farmers markets managed by, a 501c, looks like 6 in this case.
Or 6, sorry, not 3, yep. 501c6. Yes. So they would still qualify as a C6.
Yes, they would. Yeah, as long as your farmer's market, doesn't matter who's necessarily managing it, you would be eligible.
And then for anyone who wants to participate, just go to book a phone call or email or contact Whitney directly. She'll get you plugged in and get started on an application. So not sure what the Square card would be used for. Is the SNAP what is debited via Novodia? If you can kind of recap that for us, Whitney.
Sure. Yeah, and that is a little confusing. So this comes into play more with farmers than farmers markets. And it's just if you want to be able to accept credit and debit as well. More often than not, farmers markets are, they don't offer that as much anymore. So if let's say a farmer wants to also accept credit and debit, sometimes folks will already have a Square account in place. If you don't, then you would set up the Square account. And really the perk to the partnership is that you don't have to flip back and forth between the apps, depending on what kind of sale you have. So if you just had one phone or tablet that you use at market, by merging your accounts, that partnership lets you just have one app open, and then you can accept, SNAP credit and debit through the Total Pay Go app. But like I said, you need if you're doing it through Square, you need the Square's card reader to read credit and debit cards. So it's not mandatory. You don't have to merge your accounts at all if you want to keep them separate. And an important thing to note is if you use Square and you depend on their inventory feature to keep track of your sales, that doesn't cross over into this, integration is what they call it. So you would not want to do integration. You would want to keep them separate. Does that help?
Okay. I think so.
Sure.
Okay, so next question is, can you discuss how you might implement a double up SNAP matching or an e-incentive program using Total Pay Go?
Sure. Yes. Great question. So this is part of our, newer programs that we're working on right now, and we are getting ready to pilot. It's Maryland's Money Market program, but MMM. I think it's Maryland Money Markets, and it's their version of the Double Up program. And we're doing a pilot program with them, hopefully starting pretty soon, where you're going to be able to accept double up in the Total Pay Go app as well as SNAP. So it'll automatically do all the bookkeeping for you. You won't have to, as it is currently, you still have to keep track of the double up amounts separately. So currently it's not within the Total Pay Go app, but our hope is that, after we see this work with Maryland Money Market, that it's, we'll be able to demonstrate that to other double up programs and get more of them on board. It's a matter of these other double up programs working with Total Pay Go, or specifically Novodia Group, to get integrated into the system. So each double up program will need to work directly with Total Pay Go to onboard themselves into that, so that, you can offer this at all the farmers markets. So in a nutshell, it's making progress right now, but not quite available yet.
Okay, I think that was the last question that we had. So if anybody would like to drop another question in the chat for Whitney, that would be fantastic. I will share the presentation with the group after the webinar, and we do not have a survey for this webinar. Microsoft is not working for me these days, so I need to figure out why Microsoft doesn't like me. So anyway, if you have any more questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat or unmute. That would be perfectly appropriate too.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. And yes, please, reach out if you have any questions. Otherwise, jump on our website and apply, and you'll get an automatic email with instructions on the next step. So, we're happy to help you.
And again, thank you, Whitney, for this fabulous presentation. And we look forward to our next webinar in October.
Thanks,
Thank you all.
Christina.